Hello and welcome to round 4 of the British Sports Prototype Cup. Today with somewhat of an international round. We're still in the British Isles technically, geographically, but we're in fact in the lovely country of Ireland at Mondello Park, a circuit which used to host many races in the past but sadly underused today. We're using the national circuit, which is only slightly over a mile here, 1.16 miles. So another show with 2 races, 25 minutes each, so that corresponds to 29 laps for both. And Tom Brooks, it looks like we're going to have another thriller today.
It certainly does there, Nick. Of course, the championship so far mainly been held in England, but hopping over to Ireland for the national circuit, as you said. A very different challenge, a very technical challenge for the drivers, and something I'm sure that they are going to be relishing, especially with the threat of changeable weather conditions here today.
Yes, as you saw on the graphic, there's a 75% chance of rain. People from Ireland will know all about that. It's just another day for them, but for us it could be great. Here's Lee Houghton at pole here.
Very important to get a good exit at the last corner for maximum speed on the straight. As you start the lap, look to the braking markers on the left. 7 minutes for the corner, downshift into second, using the throttle to control the slide on the way through and on the way out. Into turn 2, which isn't much of a corner, in low fuel qualifying trim. Down the next straight towards turns 3 and 4. Braking in the way in, but not too much, otherwise your fronts will lock and you'll go straight on. And just modulating the throttle on the way out so you don't slide off. And next turns 5 and 6, don't position the car too wide on the way in here, otherwise you'll go straight on. It's just waiting for the front to bite this left-hander, then straight into turn 6. Try and hit the apex, but not too much on the curb there, otherwise you'll spin off. And braking on the crest, which means you will lock the front, just trying to control that as best as possible. Hit the apex of the last corner, and you can stamp on the throttle on the way out. Turn the lap.
So there we go then, Lee Houghton on pole today. So he's going to look to be making some ground up. He's technically in the lead of the championship at the moment, but of course James Price Harper, as we know him, is only 7 points behind, and he has dropped scores to come into effect later on in the season. So Lee Houghton does need to get some good points to stay ahead when all the complicated math works out. That's Marcel Wolf, by the way, as he's known for his friends, or that's Rob Covey, real name, sporting that lovely, wonderful Wolf helmet. So as I said, Lee Houghton on pole, James Price Harper right next to him. Very, very close qualifying there. April Dillon, fantastic qualifying by her in 4th position. Pete Walker, another stellar performance there, just under a second behind our pole here. Arunas Linkovic is joining him here on row 3. Campbell Wallace, very strong qualifying from him as well on row 7. Rob Covey, as we mentioned, into the top 10, so I'll be very pleased with that. He's got Matt Davies, very high qualifying positions all round for some of these drivers. He's in 11th there, as I said. Greg Wallard joining him. Thomas Alderson, Team Atom, in 13th. There's the second PSP of Niall O'Connell. His home race there, so he'll be looking to wow the fans. William Walker is right behind him, and Ben Hamilton of the Northern Monkeys in 16th. And newcomer Luke Mason didn't actually manage to set time, so we'll see what he could be able to do in the race.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be a very, very interesting race. As I mentioned, of course, earlier on, the chance of changeable conditions really going to mix things up. And you can see there's good attendance at the circuit here at Mondello Park today with a few new faces on the grid. Great to see such a fantastic turnout as we go into round 4. But of course, there can only be one winner from the first race here today. And who is that going to be? We'll find out, of course, in 29 laps time. Harrison on the right-hand side of your screen. Price Harper on the left. Who will get the drag down to turn 1? It is lights out, and away we go. A good start from pretty much everybody off the front row of the grid. Harrison there looking to get swallowed up by Sam Hill. It's going to be 3 wide potentially going into turn 1. Hill on the grass into turn 1. Price Harper leads then. Harrison into second. Oh, is he? Because there we go. We've got Pete Walker and some drama there further down. You mentioned Tom Alderton, of course, caught up in a melee of cars. It's a very tight first corner, Nick, and it really is quite easy to get caught up in the concertina effect. Pete Walker there, of course, number 71, who was challenging for second, even the lead going into turn 1. Now sitting down in 4th place at the moment, but a pretty clean start, bar a few incidents there, Nick.
Yeah, it's a very tight track, and obviously the start is the most nerve-wracking time when cars are closest together. And as we see Sam Hill now getting 2nd position, so Lee Houghton was on pole, got mugged by his teammate. Now he's in 3rd position. He can't afford to let him get away at the front here. And already you can see dark clouds looming overhead.
Exactly, yeah. Price Harper, look at the lead he's got, though, after just a lap. I'd say he's got a good 7/10 of a second. Ben Hamilton in the pit lane for the Northern Monkey Racing car. I think he might be sporting a new livery for this event, you know. And also there, I believe we've got, yes, William Walker for the Realish Racing new drivers program, as well as newcomer Luke Mason into the championship as well, number 68. So he's in. Is Haddleton going to retire? Will he be able to get the car fixed? Is it going to be a routine stop? We can see the car, of course, now up on the jacks, and hopefully he'll be able to get himself back up and running. But Pete Walker there really looking to mount a charge, and contact further back between Lambert and Dylan. Just Dylan there out of sort of kilter, really, I should say. I think that Lambert there was caught up in a bit of the concertina effect. Once again, let's have a look at the start on board there, Nick.
Yeah, Luke Mason got right into the back of Tom Alton there, just lifted him actually off the ground, but both of them managed to keep going. Here's what we see. Yeah, just slightly misjudged his braking point. Obviously, at the start, you have to brake a little bit earlier as the concertina effect comes into play, and he just got a bit caught out there. And we have, is this Rob Covey coming to the pits?
It is. So number 43, the Canadian Rob Covey into the pit lane on lap 3 out of 29. That's not what his race will be going down too well. Campbell Wallace there in 5th place. Really, really good progress from Wallace, of course, considering where he qualified. Just behind him, we've got number 26, Joe Nathan, in that camo liveried Radical, looking every way he can. So Nathan looks to have the pace advantage at this stage in the race. And of course, they're going to have to be careful, because if these two start squabbling, Arunas Linkevicius just behind them as well. So we could have a 3-way scrap for 5th on lap 3 here at Island Mondello Park. But an action-packed start we've had so far. Bryce Harper out in front comfortably, as we have seen. But there we are, Campbell Wallace sitting in 5th place overall. And I have to say, he's had something of a turbulent couple of seasons as Wallace, but he's really impressed me there, Nick, and he's certainly showing his form now.
Yeah, he's always had some strong racecraft, but sometimes just has a bit of bad luck, and already you can see here how well he can read any kind of attempt by the car behind him to have a go. In fact, Arunas has taken straight advantage of that, and he goes down on the inside in the hairpin, and that's the position taken for him. So Arunas goes by Joe Nathan, who was looking to get 5th position, but now finds himself in 7th.
Well, we've seen, of course, Linkevicius. He's qualified a bit further down the order than he would have liked in some races earlier this year, of course, like Alton Park and so on and so forth. And similar to April Dillon, actually, has made stonking progress through the field. So we'll wait and see how well he can get on. Crossing back to the offenders of Lee Harrison, number 7 there. Sam Hill just in front, and they're already starting to lap cars, and that's one of them going round. Ben Haddleton there. Was that just a bit of unsightedness from Harrison, do we think?
Yeah, maybe slight bit of impatience, just slightly misjudging. No real harm there, and Ben Haddleton is able to recover from the spin and keep going on. So we have there again, Arunas now is right on the back of Campbell Wallace. Oh, someone made a mistake there. That's obviously our newcomer Luke Mason, trying his best to get out of the way of the front runners, so just had to dive out of the way at the last second because he saw Lee Harrison coming through. But that's good to see. When a newcomer, you're always going to be a bit intimidated racing with new people when you don't really want to make a bad name for yourself. So jumps out of the way, and I think Lee Harrison will be taking.
Oh, but spinning off.
He goes straight out of the way.
Yeah, spinning off into the infield of the car, of the track, rather, I should say. Disappointing there for Luke Mason, of course, had a turbulent qualifying session, wasn't able to set a time. Harrison really mounting a charge now on Hill in front of him. Hill, of course, misjudged it. Oh, contact between the two. Harrison looking up the inside into the final corner. Keeps it fighting the right way, and keeps it facing the right way, I should say, rather, but manages to inherit 2nd place then, does the offender. So it's now currently an offender's 1-2. But not if Hill can do anything. Straight back up the inside, in towards turn 1. Lovely bit of overtaking there from the Scotsman. Straight back into 2nd place for the Arrayas Motorsport driver, Rob Covey, getting himself out of the way. But just relating back to number 68, Luke Mason had a difficult qualifying session, being unable to set a time, and has been a bit overeager in the first few laps, but hopefully he can settle down and settle himself into a rhythm as well. And I have to say, the car was pitching and rolling a bit, so he doesn't look like he's particularly confident with the setup. So hopefully he can make some changes in towards race 2 and sort it out really more than anything, and get himself back fighting potentially amongst the lower points positions.
Yes, these are very nervous cars, and so for newcomers to come in, it is a big job to get on top of them before you even think about trying to get good lap time. But Lee Harrison is trying to put few in, but he's got Sam Hill in the way. Of course, we just saw him last lap do that amazing overtake. He literally stopped dead on the racing line, and Lee Harrison is looking to give him a bit of taste of his own medicine. He ducks right underneath him, but a little bit too far back there, and Samuel manages to stay around the outside and hold on to 2nd place. Meanwhile, Pete Walker is closing in on these two.
Absolutely fantastic racing between these two drivers. You can see how much confidence, how much faith they've got in one another to be able to race this closely with this lack of contact as well. Really, really fantastic to see. But Hill just remaining to get the better of Harrison at the moment. Bryce Harper, though, absolutely romped away out in front. can't see him. He'll be coming up to lap these guys if he's not too careful. And we shouldn't be surprised really with Bryce Harper. He has been absolutely dominant in the championship when he's had the ability to be able to race. And although, of course, he had a bit of bad luck in the Australia cars last season, hopefully he can turn that around and potentially look into making a championship out of it.
Definitely, he was the favourite coming into it, what with reigning champion Sam Hirani not racing this season. Of course, he was James Bryce Harper's teammate last year. Here's an onboard replay of him. What's going on here?
The car's slowing down. Is that some kind of an issue? We saw this again, relating back to Australia cars. We saw this, some kind of an issue. He had a mystery technical gremlin at the final round at Surfers Paradise. And I do hope the mystery gremlins have not come back to haunt him, because that would be such a shame. Oh, Dylan getting sideways and into the gravel trap. Blimey, a battle for 6th place going on between Campbell Wallace. And that is the put pay to that. Just too wide through those corners there. And once you've put your wheel on the white line, it's so difficult to be able to retain control of your car. Dylan, though, doing a good job, nonetheless, to keep it facing in the right direction, Nick.
Yeah, it looked like she was almost going to power slide around the entire corner, but not quite. But she managed to keep things relatively on the straight and narrow once she managed to get back off the grass. And here's Lee Howson right underneath, trying again with Sam Hill. Now, is he going to try and go for the undercut? No, Lee Howson has blocked the line, so that's Lee Howson back up in 2nd position. Of course, he needs to mind that Sam Hill doesn't dive bomb straight down the inside again, like we saw a few laps ago, but he'll surely be now looking to try and reel his teammate in.
Absolutely. So lap 9 out of 29. Who's that going off in the foreground of the shot?
Yes, it's the new driver program cars.
It is indeed. So just getting themselves out of the way, I think, more than anything. An unfortunate mistake has allowed them to be able to, the traffic rather, I should say, to be able to get through with ease. So Harrison there just coming in towards the final corner over the crest of the hill. He's pulled a little bit of a gap over Sam Hill at the moment. So good to see. Bryce Harper still extending his lead as well. Hopefully those gremlins have sorted themselves out and he's able to continue for the rest of the race. On board we go with number 64, the 2nd Scotsman in the field, Campbell Wallace of Kaibitsu Racing, who I believe has got James Lambert, by the looks of things, for company for 6th place. So I'll have to be very, very careful, because we know that Lambert is a very quick and fiercely competitive driver, and I think that might be Joe Nathan in the background as well. So could have a 3-way battle going on for 6th place. And this, Nick, is a very, very tight circuit. It's really quite difficult to launch an overtake.
It really is. I mean, these cars can be quite... We've seen they are good for promoting overtaking, but when Campbell Wallace is the driver in front, it is pretty difficult. And with such a narrow track, and it's very fast and flowing. There's very few heavy braking zones. As we've seen, turn 1 is pretty much really our best place to do anything. As we can see there, the car behind is really having a hard time trying to stay with Campbell Wallace there. But goes very deep on the brakes there. And so there's a yellow flag out for something. We're not quite seeing what it is yet. We're going to stay with this battle to see if indeed Campbell Wallace can stay. Oh, wow, he's trying to go around the back mark and straight down the inside, and he's made the overtake.
Absolutely fantastic. That was a David Coulthard versus Michael Schumacher move at Brazil in 2001, or similar to Schumacher and Hakkinen, of course, at Spa in 2000 as well. Great bit of opportunities overtaking. Let's have a look at the replay then on board, Nick, with James Lambert.
So he just found, the car was in the way, so he thought, I'm going to go around the both of you. And as you see, struggling really to make the apex there. Here's the view from William Walker's. Just as you can see, both of them shooting by. Look at the closing speed there from James Lambert. It's amazing that he didn't actually just shoot straight off into the glass. But there's
oh no, Hamilton his hill! Oh, unbelievable!
Oh, no.
What a bit of bad luck there for number 777, Ben Haddleton. And what bad luck for Hill then. Let's have a look. Here's Haddleton having his own crash and just collects the rookie Sam Hill. Oh, what a shame there for the Realish Motorsport car. Has he got any damage, Nick? He's dropping down the order a little bit. He's now down in 4th place from 3rd. But he's keeping things facing the right way, and he's keeping the pressure on Pete Walker in front of him. But I do wonder if he'll have some kind of suspension damage following that, and that'll be a masterful drive if he can continue and potentially bag a podium with some potential suspension damage.
Well, luckily he appeared to get hit mainly on the side of his car, and of course the side impact structures are probably the strongest part of these cars. So it looks like his suspension is still, the wheels haven't fallen off him yet, and it looks like he's keeping some pace with Pete Walker ahead of him. So, just a bit of snap there, so maybe he has got something on his car a bit damaged, and now he's going to be straight under attack here by Arunas Linkovacius. It goes very defensive straight away, and of course we've got Rob Covey to worry about there. Is it going to be a repeat of the previous lap? No, Rob Covey gets straight out of the way, and somehow Samuel manages to hang on.
Yeah, indeed. Linkavatius really piling the pressure on now. Lap 13 out of 29. Battle for 7th place still going on between Wallace and Joe Nathan. Up the inside goes the American and gets a position done. Or does he? No, too deep. Yes, quite right you are there, Nick, as well. And Cab Wallace snatches it straight back. And April Dillon, of course, who qualified in 4th place, had a stonking qualifying, easily her best of the season, sitting down there in 8th place currently as well. Up the inside goes Wallace. Around the outside tries Nathan. We saw this move with Dillon a few laps ago, and she went plummeting down the order. Going around the right-hander, down the hill, into the left. Nathan looking for every which way he can, trying to find a gap, trying to create a gap. But Wallace there really displaying an absolutely masterclass in defensive driving. In towards the final part of the lap they go. Speaking of laps, fastest one from Lee Harrison in 2nd place now. So now he's got some clean air and is not battling with Sam Hill. He has really put the hammer down. But Nathan still trying up the inside of Wallace side by side as they come out of the final corner. Who will get the drag down in towards turn 1? And don't forget Dillon, of course, because she's got the advantage of the slipstream now as well. We could have 3 wide going in towards turn 1. No, we don't.
Oh, and he's gone deep again, but he's managed to block off Cam Wallace, and April Dillon now has gone straight down there, almost takes both of them. And Wallace is now going to be on the inside, so it's going to be his 2nd successive lap here. And yes, Cam Wallace he does lose 2 places there. We had the whole lap of side-by-side racing between the 3 of them. And for the moment, things seem to have shaken themselves out. Meanwhile, Arunas Linkavatius has gotten past Sam Hill, is now setting his sights on Pete Walker for the final podium position.
Cracking. Let's have a look.
We did it.
Let's have a look at that overtake on board then. So Sam Hill, just a bit of snap of oversteer mid-corner. Too much curb by the looks of things, unsettling the balance of the car. And Linkavatius like taking candy from a baby. And Linkavatius now number 8, the Lithuanian, looking up the inside of Walker. Walker, though, oh, blimey, he's really under pressure from 2 cars at once going through the first hairpin. Hill looking up the inside of Linkavatius. Bit of a kiss between the 2, but they keep it facing the right way. Hill back up to 4th. Linkavatius demoted down to 6th. 5th, rather, I should say. Lap 15 out of 29 here for the British Sports Prototype Cup. Oh, look at that. Hill trying again to try and go up the inside of Walker. Walker, though, going for a wider line, opting to take a slower apex speed, but get the car squared and get the power on earlier, and that's really helping him with this defensive driving. And I have to say, Nick, just regarding the weather for just a second, the black clouds really have gotten a lot darker over the last couple of laps.
Yeah, I'm very surprised if we don't see rain, if not at the very end, then maybe even just after the race. Let's hope we get it just before it finishes, so we can have an even more dramatic finish. Not that we've really been wanting for those this season. Here's Arunas again braking very late, and cuts underneath and taps Sam Hill, but they just keep going as they are. Obviously, Arunas not allowed to take advantage of punting off another car, but Sam Hill wasn't too disturbed by that manoeuvre in the first place.
Yes, indeed. So wet conditions potentially could come into the foray for the end of this race. These guys, of course, racing on slick tyres in the field as well. So that is an extra challenge, of course. No tread on the tyres to be able to clear the water, and it certainly does come a point where you are almost unable to control it. You will aquaplane straight off if the volume of water gets too much on the circuit. Coming in towards the final corner, Linkavatius up the inside of Hill for 4th place. Gets the position done and dusted. Nice bit of overtaking there from Linkavatius. Hill, though, not taking things lying down, getting a great exit out of the final corner in the slipstream now. Linkavatius needs to go defensive if he's able to protect his position from Hill. Hill tries up the inside of 2 in 1. Oh, that was very ambitious and didn't pay off for Hill then. I tell you what, I wouldn't like to be the mechanics for his team, because they're going to have a hefty, good old repair in time for race 2. And Linkavatius taking advantage of Walker's problems earlier on. And around the outside! What an overtake there from Linkavatius. Is he going to overdo it? He is! Oh no! What a shame. That was such a promising overtake, and it just came undone right at the last moment, Nick.
Does not stop. Obviously, the corner tightens a bit more, so he's having to slow down more and more. Of course, that arrests your turning ability.
Oh, Sam Hill off in the final sector of the lap. Number 00, Aureus Motorsports Sam Hill. A masterful recovery. Doesn't lose any positions, but loses a lot of time. Let's cross to another incident, though. Here's Joe Nathan having another off. Oh, very similar to what we saw Luke Mason do earlier on.
Again, I have to wonder, is maybe the track getting a bit slippery already? Maybe a few drops on the far side of the circuit.
Yeah, it's difficult to tell from our screen. Here's Nathan really struggling with the conditions, so surely there must be some standing water. What would be good is if we can get an onboard shot with one of the cars at some point. Hopefully that'll give us an indication as to how much rain is falling and how much that's going to affect the drivers, of course, as we come in towards the final 10 laps out of 29 here at Mondello Park. It'll be interesting to see how these drivers will fare and cope. Certainly looks like Nathan has got a predominantly dry setup on the car, whereas I know some drivers will be opting for a particularly higher downforce setting than they'll have on the car already in order to be able to try and compensate should the wet conditions prevail. Walker, though, under pressure now from Linkevicius through the final corner, and slippery conditions as well. They really are starting to struggle, and I think that's Rob Covey there, Nick, coming out of the pit lane as well.
Yeah, it just seems to, don't know if he's been in for any kind of damage or anything, but here's Pete Walker successfully defending for the moment from Marunas. He tries to go running outside, but Pete Walker's way too clever for that. But he's going to try and follow him through there. Maybe we'll see another Dan Dare move around the outside here. I think Pete Walker's actually got that covered off now there, but it looks like he might have gone in a bit too deep, but so is Arunas. And I think he's just trying to mirror his lines here. Arunas, see, gets a little bit squibbly out there, so he's just trying to mirror what Pete Walker's doing, and if he sees him make a mistake, try and take the opportunity away from him.
Yeah, the rain definitely is falling now on track. You can see how much these guys are struggling, guys and girls rather, I should say, are struggling with the grip on second at the moment. Look at how much they're squirreling coming out of certain corners, especially the slower speed ones, where it becomes all the more difficult to get the power on. Speaking of power, on board then with Pete Walker, number 71, out on the final corner, blasting down the straight. And he's easily got a lower downforce setting, surely, because he's got such a straight line advantage over Linkevicius as they head in towards turn one. Either that or Linkevicius got a poor exit out of there because he's actually been quite good in the slipstream up till now. But 9 laps remain of the British Sports Prototype Cup here at Mondello Park for race 1 of the day. We come over the brow of the hill once again and in towards the right-hander.
Oh, he's just got a bit messy out that corner there, but Arunas, again, not really being able to take advantage of it. And I think you're right about the low downforce setting, because Pete Walker should not really be maintaining the gap between them as they're going down that straight, and there's one of the back markers we saw jumping out of the way there. So that's interrupted this battle just a little bit, but sooner rather than later, Arunas is going to be back on his tail, you have to say, and you can see just how much he closes in the braking zone. But of course, by the time he's closed up to it and the corner's over, it's too late.
Yes, indeed, of course. This isn't just 4 points, this is for championship honour as well. Where will Linkevicius end up in the championship with the end coming ever closer in sight as well? Through turn 1 they go now. Pete Walker versus Linkevicius. Arunas Linkevicius is, of course, the only Lithuanian in the field and a brand new face on the Realish Racing grid for 2015. And great to have so many people, so many brand new racers on board. And some fantastic racing they have provided as well. So down the hill they come, in towards the left-hander. Back marker coming up as well, number 40 there. And through there they go in towards the final part of the lap. And the rain definitely is coming down now. This is going to be very, very tricky for a lot of drivers coming in towards the final stages of this race, Nick. And surely, of course, these guys are going to have to think about their race 2 setup as well, because wet tyres, surely, if it does indeed absolutely tip it down, are a necessity. But what are they going to do about downforce and so on and so forth?
Yeah, I mean, obviously they can only change so much in the cars. There's not a great deal of downforce on to begin with, so every little point you can get more is obviously very precious. But of course, as it rains down, of course, it might even dry up later in the race, so they have that to think about. Arunas now right on his tail again, but just nowhere. He always seems to catch him at the place where Pete Walker. He's spun actually. As I say that, and Arunas does go through. I was going to say, he always seems to catch him at the point where he can't pass, but Pete Walker makes a little mistake now, where he's got the inside line. Contact! Drives him off the circuit.
Blimey, that was a bit of argy-bargy. Very touring car-esque there from Walker versus Linkevicius. Walker realising that he got an unfair advantage and allowing Linkevicius back through, but trying again up the inside into the final corner, has a little look, but thinks better of it. Realised he wasn't going to be able to slow the car down in time and then have a similar incident to a couple of corners ago. And the rain really is coming down heavier and heavier with every passing lap. And as we come in towards the final few stages of this race, it's getting very interesting. Look how much Walker is squirming under brakes there, Nick. He's sort of very rear-biased setup by the looks of things, because he keeps losing the rear into the corners. So I think, given the circumstances, the only thing he can really do on board that car is probably putting the bias towards the front, really.
Yeah, obviously he's, as you say, he's gone for the rear bias there, so he's trying to put it a bit more forward. Obviously, they can't do it as they're racing at the moment. It's not as in some other series. That would be a big help for him if he could, but he's just going to see Arunas here sprinting away, and I think Pete Walker now just has to think about consolidating his fourth position and keep it on the track. It really is a lot wetter than it appears to be from on board these cameras.
Yes, indeed. Bit of oversteer for Walker there in the final corner. Needless to say, Bryce Harper, of course, still leading the way. We've hardly mentioned him throughout this race. Such has been his dominance. Absolutely romping away out in front. And another masterful class display of driving. I think we just saw him in the background of the shot there. such is his advantage over the rest of the field. The battle for third place still reigning on, if you'll pardon the pun, between Arunas Linkevicius and Pete Walker as they come on to lap 25, of course we are now. And the traffic really is becoming quite an issue for these drivers, and I think we've got Linkevicius there popping his headlights on as well, so he feels he's struggling with a lack of visibility. So race 2, if the weather conditions do indeed to continue to deteriorate, we are going to have an absolute cracker on your hands. In towards the final corner they go now, and Walker having a half spin through there, and again getting very, very sideways. He's going to have to make some serious setup changes behind the wheel of that power radical for race 2. But it has been a very, very interesting race so far, Nick, and I dare say that race 2 is going to be even more action-packed.
Definitely so, and all credit to Pete Walker. I said, oh, he's just going to have to consolidate his position, but he's actually keeping up with Arunas here, so the pace advantage we saw previously from him is not apparent at the moment. So maybe he as well is now starting to feel the effects of the weather as it gets to his slightly maybe higher downforce setting, but not really producing, not optimum, let's say, for the conditions. So there's April Dillon battling with Arunas, his teammate James Lambert, over 6th position, just so you can see more rain now popping down. So as the laps tick down, it's getting heavier and heavier, and these guys are going to, and girls are going to have a major job in their hands. Just stay on the track, let alone making up any positions, as April Dillon gets right into the back of James Lambert there.
Yeah, a bit of contact going on between them, but keeping things pretty facing the right way, which is always good. Over the brow of the hill, in towards the final corner. It's a very difficult braking zone, that, because you can't actually see the corner as you're braking for it. You just sort of have to turn, and eventually the apex will indeed come. On board then with Dillon. Look at the lack of her visibility from the crash shoulder, of course. It'll be even more so, a lot worse. In towards the first corner they come now. And still Dillon piling on the pressure for Lambert as well. Lambert, of course, who had a few splashes of speed in the Australia cars last season. We haven't really seen that much of him in the British SP Cup so far, but he's putting on a great display of driving. In towards turn 3 they go, and look how difficult it is just to keep the car facing the right way. So much oversteer, so much skidding and bumping and sliding from these cars. What a remarkable display of driving, and look at that, turning into the British Sports Prototype Drifting Championship by the sounds of things.
It just seems to be the fastest way around the track actually around at the moment. As the rain comes down, so does the speed, and of course front downforce in this car isn't brilliant, and as they go slower there's even less, so trying to sort of power slide your way around the corners might actually be the quickest way. Rob Cover there's retired straight on the start finish line. Must have some kind of problem there, but doesn't appear to be any kind of engine blowout. Maybe just the electrics might have frazzled with all this water getting into the cars.
Well, you say that actually like it's a bit of a jokey thing. It's quite serious actually, to be honest with you, regarding open cockpit cars. It does happen. Certainly has happened in Le Mans a few times as far as I'm aware. Meanwhile, crossing back to the battle between Lambert and Dillon as we come in towards the final couple of laps of racing here at Mondello Park. Over the brow of the hill they come, and down once again into the left-hander. And who will emerge on top as we come in towards the final couple of corners? Lambert there just managing to keep himself ahead of Dillon at the moment, of course, for the junior motorsports team. Dillon, though, looking up the inside. Bit of contact between them in the braking zone in towards the final corner of Dunlop there, Nick. But still keeping things pretty sane. And I have to say, look at how defensive Lambert's going. He really feels under pressure from Dillon.
Yeah, he's gone straight for the inside there, and now he's going to try and squeeze her to force it to go all the way around the outside. And of course, that can actually help you sometimes in the wet, because all the dirt and rubbish gets there, and then the wet provides a bit more grip. But none of that in evidence out there today. So April Dillon has only now 2 more laps to try and get past James Lambert. There's a little look down there, but James Lambert saw that come in a mile off, and now she's going to try every line she can. If he's down the inside, she's going to go around the outside. If he's hanging around the outside, she's going to try and dive down the inside somewhere. Here's the back marker there. Both get clearly through. That's always good. Oh, slightly there. See, James Lambert, anytime he makes a slight mistake, he blocks the opportunity April Dillon has to try and go around him. So even though he is suffering more in these conditions, in a funny sort of way, it's actually benefiting.
Yeah, most certainly so. So coming on towards the final lap of racing, contact between the two, battling for 6th place at the moment. Again, things getting really heated, but they come across the line. Or do they indeed? Yes, they do. So a great bit of driving there from James Lambert to finish himself ahead of April Dillon at the moment. But it is indeed the race for James Bryce Harper. The race winner here, the Offenders driver, comes across the line. Number 78 takes another victory in the Realish Racing British Sports Prototype Cup. The battle for 6th place, actually, I apologise, is still going on between Lambert and Dylan. I wonder why that might have been the case. I saw the checker flag out just a bit too soon. Contact between them as they come down out of Bridgestones, heading in towards the left-hander. Nick is getting ever closer, and look at how sideways they're getting as well.
Yeah, and just nowhere for April Dillon to go. As I said, it's going to have to be down the inside, really, at the last corner if he's going to be able to manage this. Or indeed, James, there's been a bit of a contact there between Ben Hansen somewhere. And she goes round the outside. She's actually going to make it pay off.
Unbelievable! What an overtake right at the line. April Dillon, number 314 for Junior Motorsports, claims 6th place, demotes Lambert down to 7th. And there we are. We've also got Joe Nathan crossing the line just ahead of Campbell Wallace, number 64 for Kai Bitsu. A valiant effort there from number 64 of Wallace. But a great race it was indeed for number 78, James Price Harper of the Offenders. leads home and Offenders 1-2. What a race, Nick. What a race.
What can you say about James? We saw him at the start and then we saw him at the finish, and that was the story of his race. Complete dominance there. Obviously Lee Howson, we haven't seen him, but assuming he has been for second. So 11 seconds sounds less really than the dominance James Price Harper had, but he probably would have just been coasting really towards the end. And Arunas as we saw gets onto the podium there. Ahead of Pete Walker, strong showing there. Sam Hill losing out to him. April Dillon, masterful, brilliant that last corner overtake there, only for 6th position, but it'll feel like she's overtaking him for the win. Such a stunning manoeuvres. And Joe Nathan as well, who was behind on the final lap, as we saw, did get past Campbell Wallace. And Craig Willard and Niall O'Connell, home race, gets in the point.
Fantastic. William Walker there in 14th. Ben Haddleton rounding out things in 15th. And Matt Davies and Rob Covey unfortunately failed to finish the race due to a couple of fuel pickup issues. So race 1, of course, that was it. We'll have race 2 on the way in just a couple of moments. Don't go anywhere because it's going to be absolutely incredible with the changeable conditions here at Mondello Park.
The Realish Racing British Sports Prototype Cup is brought to you by WTF1.co.uk and sensiblegaming.com.
And welcome back for race 2 at Mondello Park. We had a cracking finish there as the rain came bucketing down. And I'm pleased to tell you conditions have not improved, so it's going to be a really wild ride out there for the drivers there, Tom.
Yeah, I think an oar and some kind of sailing boat would probably be the appropriate use of racing equipment for the second race of the day here at Mondello Park. Nonetheless, drivers frantically are making setup changes in their garages to try and sort their cars out. But here's how the grid lines up. Joe Nathan, then the American, he finished in 8th place in that last race, and he will start on pole position. Lambert in 2nd, Dillon 3rd, Sam Hill there in 4th place, Pete Walker 5th, Arunas Linkevicius, the rookie, is in 6th, Harrison 7th, Price Harper there down in 8th place. Of course, we've got Wallace in 9th, Woolard in 10th, rounding out the top 10. Niall O'Connell, the homeboy, in 11th. And further down the order, Ben Haddleton, Rob Covey round out the rear of the field. And the rookie, William Walker, joined alongside Luke Mason, the fellow rookie in the championship as well. So it's going to be a very, very interesting race, this one, Nick. I've got absolutely no doubt.
Yes, and you see how important it was there that Joe Nathan got past Campbell Wallace on the final lap of the previous race. Not only did he finish one spot higher, but now he starts 8 places in front of the man he was battling with in the previous race.
Incredible. It's going to be brilliant, I am sure. Of course, Mondello Park, a race that was formerly hosted, or host to rather, I should say, the Elliott Citroën 2CV 24-hour race before it moved over to Snetterton and later Anglesey. So a circuit that is definitely steeped with history, having held various GT and rallycross events over the years as well. But we're talking track racing here today for the national circuit, and we've got Joe Nathan, of course, as you can see there as the cars make their way to the grid on pole position. And a vacant space, I believe, in 2nd. Oh, no, there we are. James Lambert does indeed get himself into position. So we wait for the 3 lights to come on. The rain is bucketing it down. Who will emerge victorious in the wet conditions here at Mondello Park? It's underway, and a good start then from Lambert off the 2nd row of the grid. A great getaway initially. And who's he going to challenge in towards turn 1? Yes, he is. So Lambert, look at the inside contact from Walker. Misjudging his braking zone, sending Lambert going around there towards the back of the field. Just a misjudgment there, unfortunately, from Walker. And that allows Nathan to make a little bit of a break for it. Linkevicius slots into 2nd place overall. And lots of action going on further down the field as well, Nick.
Yeah, Haddleton got a bit squirmy out there. And so it is Joe Nathan still in lead. But it's not James Lambert behind him. It's his teammate, Arunas Linkevicius, who now goes straight into lead as Joe Nathan goes straight off and coming back onto the circuit. Has a light bit of contact with Sam Hill. Really not his day so far. And James Price Harper actually there is now in second place, I believe, as Lee Harrison, his teammate, is looking to go around Joe Nathan, is getting absolutely mugged left, right and centre.
Absolutely fantastic. Oh, Harrison looking at the inside of Joe Nathan then as they come in towards the final corner. A favourite overtaking spot for Harrison as we saw in the last race. And in the background we've got Walker, I believe, at the inside of April Dillon, that must be. Yes, it is indeed the Juniors Motorsports car. But number 8, the Lithuanian Arūnas Linkevicius of Tropico Motorsports leads the way after lap 1. Speaking of Walker, he's really on a charge up the inside of number 86 in towards turn 1, the Eiffel Power Motorsports car of Craig Woolard there, the Briton.
Oh, it's gone straight off though.
Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, as the Chuckle Brothers would say. Through the second corner he goes and back down into 10th place, so still inside the top 10, but all of that hard work unfortunately undone after lap 1. I believe that's Tom Alderton around the outside, number 40 is trying. Keeps facing the right way nonetheless, but still Joe Nathan there. What a terrible, terrible first lap he has had after that half spin, down in 6th place after looking like he was going to take the lead in towards, or was leading in fact, after turn 1. So unfortunate there, but these tricky conditions, Nick, really catching out a lot of drivers.
Yeah, when you're typically in the midfield and you get to start on pole for the second race, and you think you might have a few laps in the sun, but well, it's certainly not sunny here in either sense of the word for Joe Nathan here, who again goes way too deep and he's straight into the gravel here, really having trouble braking. Maybe just braking too late, or maybe his brake settings are just completely wrong for these conditions. And now look who that is, another is James Lambert, who we were battling with at turn 1, is now going to try and take away 8th position from him.
A certain sense of deja vu creeps in because Pete Walker's not too far behind as well. Oh dear, was that contact between Lambert and Nathan, do we think? Or did
I think Joe Nathan just spun a bit out by himself there.
Yeah, he's really struggling with these conditions, so maybe he hasn't had the time to adapt to a full wet setup behind the wheel of that car. Either way, it's really putting pace to the quality of him, unfortunately, so far. But Linkevicius now under threat from race 1 winner, James Price Harper, number 78, of course. The blue and yellow liveried car versus the green and yellow liveried car. As
he slowed down.
Oh, he has.
An accident.
Oh, straight into the back of him goes Sam Hill. That was a very bemusing incident there for Price Harper. He comes back onto the racing line. Potentially, did he slow down of his own accord? Was it electrical gremlins? We saw that in race 1. Are they creeping back through? Meanwhile, Walker trying to get 2 in 1 and losing it straight into the gravel trap. That was never going to pay off, especially in these conditions. And as soon as he caught the grass, I could see him heading straight to the scene of the accident. Walker then down now in 12th place. Let's have a look at that replay, Nick. Here's Price Harper.
Price Harper tips up the gear and it just seems to cut out straight away. And that's him getting hit by, I think that was Sam Hill who got into him. So possibly some damage here, just throw it into the wound there for James Price Harper. This is from Sam Hill's position. So yeah, it just seems completely cut out dead. And Sam Hill, actually he did his best to miss him there. He wasn't really, you wouldn't really expect a car to be slow down the front straight. Craig Woolard here trying to get around James Lambert now, who's sort of suffering quite a lot from a lack of grip in the later stages of the previous race, and it seems he's starting off this race in the same boat, no pun intended.
Yes, indeed. So around the outside looks Woolard, looks to be quite uncomfortable with the braking. Oh, we've got an incident there between Wallace and I didn't quite catch who that was. I think you might be right. So the homeboy Matt Davies actually manages to take advantage of that and get himself ahead of Woolard. So there we are. You would have thought that having a punt up the back by Campbell Wallace would have demoted him down the order. Indeed, it's got him further back up the order into 7th place. How long can he hold it, though? But look how stiffly sprung these cars are. They need to have a softer suspension setting because they really are going over the bumps at quite a hefty rate, I have to say, Nick. And surely that can't be good for tyre management.
No, certainly not. They'll obviously have been thinking about trying to make your car as fast as possible and sort of just trying to live with what the conditions throw at you. But the conditions really have deteriorated even since just the start of the race, and now a lot of these cars have found themselves to be almost completely undrivable, and it's going to be a long race for some of these drivers, as we can see. There's Campbell Wallace, sorry, is getting under. I think that is Pete Walker coming out the slipstream there, as Matt Davies has trying to defend there from Joe.
Walker going too deep into turn 1 again. Oh, sorry to cut in front of you there, Nick. I do apologise, but straight off again into turn 1. He really is liking that gravel trap. I have to rename it. So hopefully he can get things sorted and righted. Lap 27, only 27 laps this race as well. I've noticed the race duration is a little bit shorter, potentially due to the wet weather conditions. So I should imagine, given the of course, duration, given how much longer it takes with the wet conditions to do a lap, it, of course, knocks a couple of laps off the final race duration. So instead of 29 laps, we've got 27 here at Mondello Park. But Joe Nathan on the recovery, number 85 of that, of course, number 85 being Matt Davies, I believe, just in front of him. So would he be able to take advantage, or is it Niall O'Connell? I apologise. It's one of these.
No, that is Matt Davies.
It is indeed. So there we are. Marvellous. Good. My identification skills leave something to be desired sometimes. Do apologise. So 20 laps remaining here at Mondello Park through turn 1. There you go now on board with Joe Nathan, that distinctive camo livery through the left-hander. Great on-board shot of Nathan's car. You can really get an idea of the elevation changes here at Mondello and how fast and flowing the circuit is and how treacherous these weather conditions really are. And look at that, a very unusual line.
Oh, there's Haddleton again.
Straight off, yeah, another spin. He really is liking facing the wrong way. Maybe he wants to go for the anti-clockwise layout, Haddleton. I do apologise. I shouldn't make any jokes about it because he's putting in his best effort, is number 777. Speaking of Harrison, though, he's at the fastest lap overall. He's not leading the race, is number 7, but he's looking to mount a charge on James Price Harper.
Oh, and Matt Davies goes straight, way too deep, straight on. Loses 2 places then, might lose another one if Pete Walker can actually make his way around the corner. So treacherous, it's almost like swimming really rather than racing here.
I do apologise, by the way. Of course, Harrison is indeed leading the race following Price Harper's demise earlier on. And there's Wallace straight into the back of Nathan. Nathan is not going to be very happy about that. Is the American for the RlyR Racing team. They'll be having some, I should imagine, difficult confrontations after the race has finished. Walker there in 8th place has got himself ahead of the 9th place man at the moment. In toward the right-hander they go for the 8th out of 27th time. That right-hander, of course, of Bridgestone. But what can we say about Dylan there? Once again, kept her nose clean, kept out of trouble as Dylan there, Nick, and sitting pretty in 3rd place.
Yeah, although now he's going to come under attack by the man who just set the fastest lap there, Lee Harrison. So, and then, of course, got Sam Hill there in front. So it's 2nd, 3rd and 4th relatively close together on track. We might be seeing an overtake for the final podium position anytime soon. And don't forget, it can all go wrong really in these conditions though. So Lee Harrison does want to keep his wits about him and not assume he can just steam down the inside of April Dillon there and take it away from her.
Well, indeed, most definitely so. Of course, consistency is the name of the game, as I'm sure a lot of you are aware if you're racing yourself. Of course, if you're new to sim racing, welcome. It's great to have you along. Thanks so much for tuning into the Realish Racing British Sports Prototype Cup. We've had a titanic battle of the drivers at the front of the field, and Price Harper, of course, the driver who is the championship favourite going into the season, suffering some mystery technical gremlins earlier on in race 2 here at Mondello Park, and unfortunately sitting further down the order than he would have liked to have been after leading the race so comfortably in the early stages. So April Dillon there in towards turn 1, now coming under threat from Lee Harrison. Harrison looking ever closer, trying to find a way if possible. You can see that Dillon there taking that wider karting line, as it's known, and staying off the curb, whereas Harrison really is using all of the road there, Nick, and some that he probably should think about avoiding as well, because those curbs get very slippery in these weather conditions.
Yeah, he's clearly much more confident in his car there, Lee Harrison, but as you say, he has to be very wary that he doesn't become overconfident and hits one of those painted lines which can so easily send a car just spitting straight out into the barriers. But you have to think here that Lee Harrison is going to try and, well, he's going to have to try and get by April Dillon, but with only 10 laps gone, unless he makes some kind of mistake, you think he might be able to get onto the podium here. And see, April Dillon's makes a mistake there, and that's going to make Lee Harrison's job much easier. He's going to, well, not much of a slipstream in these wet conditions, but what little there is, he's got one, and he's going to have to duck out soon to get a little bit of a better view if he can. Oh, he goes steaming straight in and way too deep there. Oh, and April Dillon into the back of Sam Hill.
Yep, so of course the senior effect getting caught up there. Hill going round. Dillon there doing the sensible thing and waiting until Hill is able to rejoin safely and reclaim that position. But Harrison now then has got a distinct advantage over Hill in 3rd place, and indeed Dillon in 4th as well. So Christmas come early for Harrison at the moment. There's the race leader, Linkavatius, giving it all of it, and probably some that he should think about leaving behind as well. Really very, very sideways, and what a spectacle this is to watch. Coming out of the final corner, will he get equally as sideways? He's really enjoying these weather conditions, is Linkavatius. He looks so comfortable behind the wheel of that car, despite how flamboyant and over the top it may indeed seem. But nonetheless, a great display of racing for the number 8. In towards turn 1 he goes. And again, missing the apex, missing those curves, and taking things pretty gingerly around the first corner, despite the flamboyance in the driving style. William Walker there, the rookie number 101. He's not had a comfortable weekend, unfortunately, so far. And just gets himself out of the way quite easily of Lee Harrison, number 7 of the offenders. Through turn 2 they go, and heading in towards the right-hander of Bridge. So this is a very difficult part of the lap. It's, of course, a quick right-hander into a hairpin of a right-hander. So it's almost a double apex, if you like. And drivers doing their best to negotiate it in the tricky, I should say, weather conditions. At number 68 there, the rookie, of course, just getting out of the way. That's Luke Mason, and Harrison off! Straight into the barrier there, Nick. And that was just too eager on the power by the looks of things.
Yeah, and of course this grass is becomes like ice really when it's so wet. So as soon as he got in there, no way he could really slow down time. And James Price-Harper, his strict teammate, managed to get in front of him. So all that hard work Lee Harrison did, then trying to get up to the podium, ironically hampered by visibility, went too deep, and then managed to avoid the incident between the two guys ahead. Now he's got the same problem in getting ahead, but this time with his teammate.
Unbelievable, really rubbing salt into the wound of Lee Harrison there. Still looking though to get himself ahead of his teammate, trying to look at maybe launching a move, or maybe thinking about launching a move, I should say. Into the left-hander he goes. Still no way through there. I believe that Harrison still holds the record for the fastest lap in this race so far, such as Price-Harper's damage on his car, presumably after that incident with Sam Hill earlier on in the race. A lap 13 out of 27, just about to approach half distance. And who will emerge on top come the end of the 27th lap? Well, you have to say it's looking to be Linkovacius' race to lose at the moment. Such is the advantage he's got on the rest of the field, and really putting in a great display of driving for the Tropico Motorsports team. You can see there in the background James Lambert, his teammate, who started on the front row of the grid. And Harrison going a little bit too wide and getting a little bit too close for comfort to that barrier on the outside. But keeping things righted and facing in the right direction. But yes, James Lambert, of course, a race to forget for him, unfortunately. Still sitting there in 6th place, so not too bad at all. I'm fairly sure he'll be pretty pleased with picking up some points, but he'll probably be lamenting what could have been, unfortunately. Also, should mention Tom Alderson there.
Hill.
Straight off into, I believe you're right, and Price-Harper skating straight off. Unbelievable. Just avoiding the barrier by the skin of his teeth. Keeps things facing in the right direction there and thereabouts, and is now down in 6th place. Has lost a position to Lee Harrison and indeed James Lambert as well. And Hill straight on the recovery once again, looking to get ahead of Harrison. Number 7 in towards the right hander they go. Look at how hard Hill is pushing. He's got dirty tyres, of course, and that's really not going to help him as he tries to mount a charge. William Walker then once again just getting out of the way. Harrison still trying to keep himself ahead of Hill at the moment as they come on towards the start-finish straight and across the timing line for the 16th time, or the 15th time rather, to start their 16th lap. And in towards turn 1 at the moment. Hill looking there to try and mount a charge, but no way through for him at the mo. You have to just bide his time pretty carefully and keep things facing in the right direction. Joe Nathan there still sitting outside of the top 10 following his earlier issues, Nick, and he's had a bit of a race to forget.
Yeah, you have to feel sorry for Joe Nathan. He always seems to be the one who is affected by incidents that aren't really his fault. He always seems to be tagged by someone at the start or steamed into at the back. But compounded with this, he's just really not enjoying his conditions. And Matt Davies there might fancy his chance here at 11th position. I think that might be, off the top of my head, it might be Matt Davies' best result if he could get into the 11th. So we'll wait and see there. But Joe Nathan seems to have just enough speed naturally to cover off Matt Davies, but every lap he seems to make just a tiny little error here or there, and Matt Davies comes straight onto the back of him.
Yeah, indeed.
And actually, Arunas Linkovacius coming up to lap them.
I think you might be right, actually. So Linkovacius really has got some stonking pace and is quite enjoying these tricky conditions. You know that Lithuanians are very good at the old rallycross. I've got a Lithuanian friend who's a rally driver, and he certainly likes going in the tricky conditions. So it must be something that runs in the blood of Lithuanian drivers. And Linkovacius really does look quite at home behind the wheel of his Radical as they come on to start lap 17 out of 27 here at Mondello Park. And drivers getting out the way very, very nicely. Good response from everybody. But Linkovacius, what can you say about him? The rookie, of course, coming into this championship, we knew, given his previous experience in other series, that he would most certainly be a force to be reckoned with. But we didn't think, I should imagine, that he certainly surpassed my expectations.
Certainly so. Realish Racing does have a history of rookies in just only in name and coming into the series and making a name for themselves immediately. And Arunas is just the latest in the long line of this. And there's his teammate there, James Lambert. So both of these on somewhat of a recovery drive. James Lambert would be pleased, as you've mentioned it before, he would probably be pleased with the 5th or 6th position given the race he's had, but he's definitely going to try and make James Bryce-Harper, the championship contender, work as much as he can for his 5th place.
Yeah, the two Jameses battling it head-to-head as they come in towards Bridgestones, breaking down then, and Bryce-Harper again opting for that wider line, very lucky not to clip the grass, but going straight around the outside, or at least trying to, of his fellow James Lambert, of course, of Tropico Motorsports. And look at how much more grip Bryce-Harper has got, despite the damage he's running on his car. Around the outside, in towards the left-hander, maybe. No way through there. Has to think about it again. Tries to get the switchback. And again, he's looking towards all the outside moves and trying to pressure James Lambert into a mistake as they come in towards the final corner. Leaves the door open, does Lambert. Up the inside for Bryce-Harper. Is there going to be contact? No. Lambert realises he's there and allows the door to remain open. Bryce-Harper gets himself ahead out of the final corner. Great bit of overtaking there from the number 78, the race 1 winner, and indeed the championship leader here at Mondello Park. But James Lambert trying to get himself straight back, but both going equally as sideways as each other, Nick.
Oh, and he's just drifted around his corners that finally maybe has to realise he's giving up. So that was a great lap of side-by-side action there between the two Jameses. But James Bryce-Harper on the recovery drive after a mysterious glitch left him stricken on the front straight. And look at James Lambert, he's really trying there with 10 out of 10 just for effort there from James Lambert, and it's really exciting to watch these drivers being able to handle this cars. It really is so much more difficult than you could even imagine, even in the dry, let alone in these torrid conditions here.
Yeah, here's the battle going on for 10th place at the moment between Joe Nathan and number 40, I believe that might be Tom Alderton. My apologies. Wait and see.
Yeah, so he's been running pretty strongly.
Yeah, no, of course he has, running in the top 10. So a great bit of overtaking there. Let's have a look and see how the incident happened anyway. Oh, it was Nathan losing it under power. And
Matt Davies having his own incident there in the foreground.
Indeed, he's getting himself straight into the scene of the accident. And let's have a look, crossing back to the action between Joe Nathan and Tom Alderton then. In towards the final corner they go, and Alderton looking very sideways. But Nathan still able to put the power down earlier, despite looking equally as out of control, and able to make a bit more of an advantage than Alderton. But very impressive and easily the best run of the race for Alderton at the moment. Great to see him running so highly in the championship, despite his earlier dramas. And there's Lambert once again looking sideways and looking a bit squirrely, down in 7th place. And I think he might have Walker ahead of him now as well. Let's see what happens.
He's gone off his side straight. Oh, and yes, just slightly taps into the barriers there, but sudden impact, so he should be able to carry on there. And he really is just taking adventures across. He's seen more of the grass really now than the asphalt. But as you say, Pete Walker now ahead of him. Classic kind of Pete Walker race, just keeping his head above him. After, of course, I say that he did cause a few incidents at the start of the race, but since then he's kept himself quite calm. He's managed to pick up places here and there, rather going off in just a natural pace and race car.
Yeah, Walker though getting very sideways through turn 1. The School of Drifting is what this is today. It's not the Realish Racing British Sports Prototype Cup, in case you've tuned in for it. Joke, of course. And again, yeah, straight on, same incident. So Lambert really not looking to be comfortable behind the wheel of that car. And the fronts just seemed to lock up as soon as he even thought about heading for the brakes. I mean, he was carrying too much speed into the corner, but as soon as he tapped onto the brakes, I mean, there's nothing you can do once you get onto those wet, grassy conditions. And is Lambert carrying some kind of an issue, because he's really struggling? I mean, look how much turning angle he's got into the front wheels. Look how much pressure he's putting on the tyres. So he's got a lot of understeer, but he's also got an uncharacteristic amount of oversteer as well. And I mean, there's nothing he can do about the setup now, of course, being in the car. So it's just brake bias, really, more than anything, that he can sort out.
Yeah, it didn't look like too much of a heavy hit, but maybe I was mistaken, and actually something did kind of snap on his car here. So we're now on with April Dillon here, with Lee Harrison in the background. So Lee Harrison trying to make his way up there. I think this would be for the final podium position or second place. So I can't quite recall, as they have not helpfully not getting a graphic up to tell us, but it's for a position, and that's all that really matters here for Lee Harrison. A few more points for his championship charge.
Yes, indeed. Of course, he really does need to close that deficit between himself and his teammate. I mean, it was pretty close going into the round, and hopefully he can continue his charge as we come into the latter stages of the season, because that will be something really very interesting to commentate on and to shout about as we come in towards, of course, Cadwell Park and Knock Hill and so on and so forth. And I believe the weather conditions for Knock Hill looking to set to be pretty similar to what we've got here today at Mondello Park. So that is going to be very, very interesting indeed. So it's Linkevicius leading from Dylan, from Harrison. Sam Hill there in 4th place, and Bryce Harper as well. Both have got damaged cars, you would imagine, after their earlier incident. Joe Nathan now inside the top 10, having overtaken Tom Alderton. Davies down in 12th. O'Connor, and that's Bryce Harper in the barrier. In the barrier, what's gone wrong there? Has he gone off the track? Something's gone wrong. His car's not moving, so has he had an incident, or is it some kind of a technical fault once again? Because I can't see any damage to the naked eye of the car. Still waiting to see, dropping down the order.
Some kind of steering angle being put on that wheel, but it just seems to be completely stopped dead.
Well, the car's stopped, that's for sure. So maybe with that incident, no, he's got back underway. So was it a technical fault? Did he clip the barrier? Did the engine stall? Did he not dip the clutch quick enough? Or has he had the returning technical gremlins for Bryce Harper? He had those electrical gremlins in race 1, and as we mentioned earlier on in the programme, of course, wet conditions really can play havoc with the electronics. Let's have a look then, Nick.
Downshift.
And neutral, look at that.
This goes straight on.
Yeah, he's got no engine braking because, of course, these cars really do rely quite heavily on engine braking. So he clipped the barrier, but his car had cut out way before that. He was straight into neutral. So no drive at all, and gets things back underway. That's quite reminiscent, actually, of the final round of the Australia-Cars Championship in Surfers Paradise, because he had a very similar incident. And the car just stopped. There we are. Gets it into gear. And it just takes so much time to get things back underway. Again, trying to apply that steering angle. And there we are. So pulls away. So Bryce Harper's returning technical gremlins. I do hope that's not an omen for the rest of this race. There's only a few more laps remaining, but that could really be a disappointing result for him, and probably, I believe, his worst result of the season.
Certainly would be. I mean, he has missed 2 races, but he's absolutely been electrifying in the ones that he has made up. So if he does finish outside the points, that would be a bit of a blow already. It's only around 4, but I always say it's never too early to start thinking about the championship, and certainly not what James Bryce Harper would want for his chances. Meanwhile, we've got quite a few cars here, and also some of them are in the way of being lapped. Others are here, are racing for position. Craig Waller, haven't seen too much of him this race. We saw him briefly at the start, so he's now sandwiched between Joe Nathan and Tom Alderton. So making his way up, and Tom Alderton, they're getting very sideways there. Somehow manages to still keep it straight and pointing in the right direction. And so 10th position would be, I think, probably his career best.
Yeah, well, indeed, that's easily his career best, actually, Tom Alderton.
Oh, as I say that, it's just gone straight to, and Cam Wallace can take position away from him.
Oh, what a shame, what a shame. Not a bit of luck, but still holding into the points-paying positions. Wallace still not able to get ahead, though, so Alderton really defending his line quite well and holding on as we come into the final couple of laps of racing here at the treacherous conditions of Mondello Park. Over the brow into the final corner. Alderton very deep on the brakes, very sideways, and spins it. Oh, has a half spin at least, and is now demoted into 11th place. Still inside the points nonetheless, but not the top 10 position he would have wanted. Meanwhile, number 26, Joe Nathan there in 8th place, being harassed all the time by Craig Woolard.
Oh, Joe Nathan, wow.
Clips the grass.
Completely lost it there.
Yeah, clip the grass, and once you do that, it's so easy to just become a passenger, as Joe Nathan did. Waits for the traffic to go through, and is now down in 11th place. So that surely does indeed promote Tom Alderton back up into the top 10. So that's some good news, at least for Tom Alderton and indeed Campbell Wallace and so on and so forth. But yeah, Wallace there in 9th place, and Alderton slowing down actually. So now overtaken by April Dillon, so down in 10th place. So what has happened?
I think this is just them coming through to Latham. So Alderton getting out of the way there very sensibly. And of course, if you do that, you can kind of follow the car in front and maybe try and take advantage of the car in front of you getting lapped and try and take the position back.
Yes, indeed. So still number 64 of Cam Wallace and number 40 of Tom Alderton of Team Assam going absolutely head-to-head. Down the back straight they go. Oh, sorry, the front straight rather, I should say, and in towards turn 1 for the penultimate time. Wallace going too deep on the brakes, and that allows Alderton up the inside. Contact between the two, but still keeping things pretty sideways and pretty flamboyant. Alderton up the inside. Wallace has to relinquish his position and gets very sideways on the wet curbs as well. And that means that Wallace has now got a little bit more of a gap to make up to Tom Alderton. But what can we say about Lee Harrison there, Nick? Still in 3rd place overall with April Dillon in 2nd. What a race so far.
Yeah, it seems to be Lee Harrison weekends that he comes away less happy than, the results aren't quite as good as maybe he would have hoped. But 3rd place after the start he had to this race is, I think he would take that easily, and in fact it might even be 2nd place if he can do something here on the final lap. But I think April Dillon is a bit too far ahead for him. So I think actually we're still going to have another lap here, because Arunas Linkevicius is just that far ahead that he has actually already started the final lap way before these two even got to the start-finish line.
Yes, indeed. So let's see how this final lap does indeed pan out. Will we see a change in second place in this race? But it is indeed surely going to be a first career victory for Arunas Linkevicius and Harrison. Look at that. Oh, airborne. Straight into the scene of the accident by the looks of it. Keeps things limey. He slowed that down quite well. Although I wasn't expecting that. That was quite an incident, but there we are. Nonetheless, the race does indeed belong to Arunas Linkevicius. Number 8, the Tropico Motorsports driver, takes his first ever Realish Racing victory here at the wet Mondello Park for race 2. What a result for him. And Niall O'Connell now there, Nick, the home boy, in the points.
Yeah, it's 2 points finishes for the PSP driver, so fantastic home race for him. I'd be really pleased with that. He's not really been feeling it with his cars and he's been a bit down about his performances, but what a strong round there. Oh, a bit of close race action there.
No! Oh dear, Willie Walker gets himself sliding off the track, and is that going to compromise his points playing position? Is it going to compromise? Sorry, is that going to compromise Niall O'Connell's points playing position? Let's wait and see.
They hadn't finished. I apologise. I thought these two had finished, but Niall O'Connell isn't going to be in the points.
No.
Unless Luke Mason makes some kind of terrible mistake here. Oh, he's just desperately trying to hang on there, but just managing to there. So Luke Mason is in the points in his first race.
Absolutely fantastic. He will be delighted with that. But what can we say about Arunas Linkevicius? Start, dominated, finished. What a result there for number 8. The Lithuanian driver scores his first ever Realish Racing victory. Commiserations for Bryce Harper, finishing in 7th place and his worst result of the season. But the final results you can see there, April Dillon in 2nd place. Lee Harrison rounded out to some consolation for the offenders in 3rd. Sam Hill finished off the podium in 4th. Walker was 5th. James Lambert there in 6th. A valiant effort from Bryce Harper in 7th. RlyR there, great result for Craig in 8th. Tom Alderton finished 9th. What a result for Team Atten, and his best result in the championship so far. Davies actually did get a point and finished in, or 2 points rather, in 11th. Campbell Wallace rounded out the top 10. Niall O'Connell, the home driver, just missed out. Joe Nathan was 14th, and William Walker, the Realish Racing new drivers program driver, was 50th.
I can say Arunas, what a brilliant. Sometimes we see this when you get your first win, it appears to be in such a dominant fashion that you wonder how it took so long to do in the first place. But there you go, Lee Harrison remains at the top of the championship standings. Finished by Harbour's team, of course, closely behind. But Arunas has leapt up into 3rd position ahead of Sam Hill. So he's going to be looking at 2 offenders drivers and seeing if he can make a charge away from an honour that really the 2 of them would have thought was only going to be contested between the pair of them.
Absolutely, so things really hotting up as we come in towards the middle stages of the championship. RlyR there, following his great points paying position, up a few places. Tom Alderton likewise as well. O'Connell, Morley, Thorne going straight down the order. Matt Davies going up as well as Luke Mason onto the board with his points, of course, in that race, and finishing his 23rd overall in the championship so far. And we'll see the team's championship in just a few moments time as well, and we'll see how the constructors are doing. Let's have a look, shall we?
And the offenders well in front. They've finished at least 1 car on the podium in every race so far, and that's really showing, really apparent in the tables there.
Absolutely incredible. So we thank you for joining us here for round 4 of the British Sports Prototype Cup Championship. It's been an absolute pleasure. My name's been Tom Brooks. Alongside me has been Nicholas Galumis, and we will see you next time for round 9 and 10 at Cadwell Park in just a couple of weeks' time.
And maybe it might be sunny.
With a bit of luck.